if you're wondering why there is silence, it's for the little procedure of going live. Yeah, it's just going live and starting recording, etc. Live stream.
Yeah. Okay. We're good to go. A very good morning, guys. Thank you all for joining in. Thanks to the jury panel and thank you all to the participants for joining in for today's L.I.K Trophy jury. It's a privilege for us to host the L.I.K Trophy in collaboration with L.I.K and Satya sir been moderating it. The brief, the jury panel, everything is suggested by Satya sir, and we have Satya sir with us on board today. Over to you, Satya sir, to introduce the jury panel and to have an introduction with the participants also.
Thanks, Manojna. You are managing academics, practical training, internship, NASA presidentship. Keep it up. And Divyansh has been so regular on this job for quite some time. Tarun joined in last evening and the whole NASA team. Because of you people, it's been happening. And it's amazing, as you all know, for the 64th continuous year, NASA is being held in India. And no other country in the world has such a continuous student body as such. So keep it up. So welcome to every of the participants. There are 21 entries. And the themes, some of you from the first year, second year, third year may find a little deep, but the idea is to take you students, push you into water so that you learn swimming more effectively. So please accept the kind of high-ended brief which we have been giving you in the trophies over here in L.I.K at least. The jury selection also has been, juror selection also has been very, very thought out. To tell you, so that you will know the backgrounds on which we do this. And the NASA team and I sit together and we look at the names. So we choose somebody who is a very senior pioneer level of a person who possibly has an overview of the complete theme. So this time we have Parul Zaveri with us from Abhikram. Those of you who have taken part or heard of the Unknown Craftsman Trophy, they would be knowing that they had initiated this trophy. I was just now told this year the trophy has not been run. This particular year is not there. But anyway, we have Parulji with us still. So at Abhikram, they have fused, they have synthesized architecture, urban design, and heritage matters a lot. So she in a way becomes a fitting jury for this because of the background of looking at architecture from all the perspectives. So, as you know, there is architecture and urban design. There's urban design in architecture, and there's heritage in both. So infill architecture really becomes a theme where there is fusion of all the three. So we have Parul from Abhikram, Ahmedabad. Welcome, Parul, for this jury.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for including me in this jury.
Oh, no, it's our honor that you agreed.
And let me tell you,
we have
68 NASA was held in Ahmedabad. That time Sep did participate, and Nimish was the secretary.
So you have the longest association with NASA in this group today.
Yes.
As you are saying it, I fondly remember Nimish Bhavi. Well, and then we have Anjan Mitra's name you can see there. Anjan has a background. Anjan has a background in urban design, but he has dabbled in interiors, architecture, alternates, eco-friendliness, contextual architecture, of course, faculty, teaching, and heritage conservation. So he has actually taken up conservation. And, he has been somebody who has, reference documentation. I think he was among the first few professionals to document the Kolkata Durga Pandal. Am I right, Anjan? You documented Durga Puja. So, he is also somebody who has kind of a multifaceted person who has attempted doing many, many things around. He has written quite a bit in Bengali, and I've seen one translation in English, I think. So welcome, Anjan, to this jury panel.
Hello. Thank you for that great thing.
And we have Brinda Sastri there. Over there you can see. And
hello.
Brinda has a background, of course, in CPT. We just now mentioned. Okay, students might not have heard of it. Then she did her master's from US, someplace in Brinda, right? I don't remember which place though.
University of Oregon.
Oregon, okay, yeah. Back in India, she's among the few, please allow me to say that, she's among the few people who thinks so deep about urban matters. She has an urban design background from Oregon. And besides being at the architecture urban design level, she also has spread her wings across in the larger city, regional level issues, which even includes, she was a consultant to BMRDA and other bodies in Karnataka. Because we do notice that when it comes to critical urban design, is not only design, it includes everything from fiscal matters to management to people's participation to envisioning the future. There are a whole lot. And she is currently the adjunct faculty at RV College. And if I may say so, for some of the amazing studio work which happens in RV College Urban Design Program, maybe I'm promoting RV College Urban Design now, or some of the amazing work which happens in RV Urban Design Program, I won't say she's singularly, the reason. There's a little nice group there. There's a small group, and she's one of the key person in the group. And currently, she's also helping in promoting the IUDI, Institute of Urban Designers India, Bangalore chapter in an extremely big way. Thank you very much, Brinda, and welcome on board over here.
Thank you, Satya. My pleasure.
Yeah, Satya, I just want to mention one little thing. In 1982, I first actually competed for L.I.K trophy when Kanvinde was the jury.
More connections than what I knew.
Fantastic.
Okay. I have been on L.I.K jury for NASA 2-3 times. I've been on Bhopal and another place twice at least. I think I've been on L.I.K trophy jury. My association with NASA started back around 94, 95. And I think I don't remember which was my first NASA as a faculty, not as a student, but as a resource person. So I was there at Chennai, Satyabhama, I was there at Bhubaneswar, I was there at Manipal. They were all in the 90s I'm talking about. So my association started around that time. And about 7-8 years of knowing NASA, somewhere in early 2000, sorry, this is out of topic, out of context, but very quickly, around 2001 or 2, Indian Acrylic Builder magazine, somebody there called upon me. They said, sir, we want to run an article, something about NASA. So around early 2000, I wrote a little one-page note on, for those days, re-looking at what a NASA was, is, and should be. And it's another 20 years since then. And thanks to NASA, I've been having more or less continuous, discontinuous association with NASA for the last 25 years now, in one way or the other. Okay, thank you very much for everybody. And if students have any critical, any focused query, we allow it very briefly. Otherwise, not. Very general query, no. If you have any critical query, NASA team will respond to you.
So I'll just want to take 2 minutes. It's been nice to listen from all of you all, from being a participant to the juror of the same trophy, and all of you going down the memory lane about NASA. And it's really nice to hear about all of this. Without further ado, I have a couple of things for the participants. So all of you, each team would be given 10 minutes. At the 8th minute, you'll be warned. One of us would be telling you have 2 more minutes left. You will have to finish your presentation in 10 minutes. This is just to we'll keep the time frame very strict. Please time your presentations. All of you have been informed that it's 10 minutes, and you will be having 5 more minutes where the jurors would be critiquing your work or asking questions and confirming things that they would want to. And we will also be telling the jurors when the 5 minutes is done, and we will proceed to next entry. This is just to make sure things end in the right time today. That's all from our end.
Okay.
All the best, everyone.
Yeah. Continuing further, now on to jurors. Each juror will get, so to say, 5 minutes divided by 3, but it's not so precisely mathematical. So, here and there, a little plus or minus. Now, I'm requesting on behalf of the jurors to begin with Anjan, if you have any specific request to make to the students who are presenting.
Okay. Mainly, what we would be looking at is your way of understanding your approach to this process of documentation and understanding the contextually or appropriateness. This is exactly what we'll be examining here. And that is, so you try you make your presentation more on your thought process and the way what you think is documented is necessary and how you have documented it. That is basically what we will be trying to look for. I think other jurors probably will agree with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brinda, anything you want to say?
No, I think it's already said. The appropriateness, as you mentioned earlier, Satya, the appropriateness of the project itself and the process of documentation, how well you express this whole idea of how the infill works would be useful. So if you can spend time on talking about, instead of describing it, talking about it more analytically to understand or to make us understand how well you were able to express the contextuality of the project through your drawings.
Thanks, yeah. Parulji.
Everything you said.
Okay. So, Manojya, then we are set to go over to the team.
Requesting all the participants to leave the room. We'll allow you guys in once it's your turn.
And you will be asking the main the key person to switch on their camera so that we can see the face during the comments. They need not switch on the camera when the presentation is on, but then during the comments, we need to see your presence. And smile at us and we can smile at you. So take it cool, yeah. It's nice. And you have a very friendly jury here. So nothing to worry about. Just be confident and go ahead. All best. Over to NASA team.
So we'll be starting with the first entry. So except the first entry, others can leave. First entry participants are requested to stay, others can leave.
Can't hear anything. Are they presenting?
They'll be presenting, just we're letting others leave. Just give them 2 minutes.
Divyansh, we can begin.
Yes, now we can begin.
Can we start sharing?
Start sharing.
Yeah, please go ahead. We can't hear you.
Yeah, can you give us a second?
Yeah.
Our other devices got disconnected. So sorry about that.
What is it?
We actually got disconnected from the device we were supposed to share from. He is joining right now. We're so sorry about that.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you.
Manojnya?
Yes, sir.
So all these people who are there now, they're all from the same team, right?
Right, right.
Okay, okay. So it could be 3, 4, 6, 8, whatever number.
It's the first group, sir, all three of them.
Okay. Yeah, so everything says 64, 64. I can see that.
Yeah.
Can you let us know? Okay.
Hey, you know one thing. Okay, yeah, carry on. Carry on.
We hope you can see our screen. Hello.
Yes, yes. Your screen is visible. You can
Sorry
see.
about the little setback there. Let's get started. And I'm hoping our audio is clear. Yeah. Good morning, everybody, and thank you for having us here. I'm Sandeep.
And I'm Ravi.
And we are representing the architecture department from VIT Vellore. And this year for the L.I.K trophy, we have documented Hilltop School that is situated in Hyderabad. And that is what we are going to talk about today. So Hilltop School.
Hey, can I interrupt?
Yes, sir.
As per NASA rules, we are not supposed to tell from which college you are. Not that the jury will get biased and not that really, but as a procedure we don't. So that's why even if it were to have been an actual jury with the pin-up sheets, the college name would not be there in any one of the sheets.
Sorry.
Anyway, carry on for now. Carry on, please.
Sorry about that. So sorry.
Yeah, carry on, please.
Hilltop School.
Carry on, please. And just one sec. The NASA team, Divyanshu and others, do everybody get to see the chat box as they come into the jury? They do or they don't?
Yeah, sir. If they were added before, they can see.
Only then they will get to see. Okay, can you reach out to everybody once again? Sorry, we did not mention it in the introduction. Forgot. But
yes, sir. We have a group. We'll tell them that.
Please tell them that, and this will excuse because it was done unintentionally. So we'll excuse them for this. We'll bear with them. And also 1 minute, sorry from my side, I should say to Parul Munjal, I forgot to introduce INTAC into this. I mean, last year I was doing it myself. This year, I thought I'll ask her, and in the last minute, neither I did nor did I ask her to come on screen. But anyway, Parul, please bear with me for the missing thing from my side. Please put it in the group you mentioned. Please do that. We also welcome Parul Munjal from INTAC Heritage Academy.
Thank you.
Yeah, we will catch up later on the rest of it with you. Over to you, the group, and please give this 2 minutes extra to them, which I have taken in between.
Sure, sir.
Sorry about that little hiccup. Thank you so much, sir, for excusing us. I'll get started again. So Hilltop School is located within the inner walls of the Golconda Fort in Hyderabad in a low-rise residential area. And only half of the area within these spoke walls have been built, as most of the sites are too steep for any type of construction to take place in. The fort's built heritage dates back to over 800 years and was also the origin of the city. And this project is actually a charity-funded school that is backed by a non-profit educational trust that is funded entirely by Zakat. So the building program consists of basic educational infrastructure such as classrooms, a library, a science and computer labs, and staff rooms that were designed to be built at a lower cost and to require very little maintenance. And despite the obstacles faced, that is limiting construction expenses to a bare minimum, protecting the natural environment, and adhering to a heritage zone building restrictions, Hilltop School was able to achieve its goal of providing a safe learning environment for children around the neighborhood. So this settlement in which the school is nestled remains the oldest settlement in the Hyderabad. So which is within the fort walls. So as the settlement around the walls keep expanding over the years, while this settlement becomes denser as years pass by. So as a manifesto, it is evident of the fort and the settlement within the walls historical, also where the these cultural values and historical monuments of these spots are preserved well. And a school which is nestled within the settlement with all these values and sharing its wall with the neighboring courtyard houses from where many of the oldest monuments could be seen from the school top gives beauty as an infill project. So it's not only historically, the cultural and contextual integration of this school makes it more fit and beautiful as an infill project. So this school serves as an integrated part of the context in terms of design, features, and concept, but it stands out visually in the setting. So the design of the school is divided into three parts: the lower section, the middle, and the upper section. And unlike typical schools, the building's terrace connects to an open space at the top, allowing students to enter the school from the highest point, which was an open playground that was preserved by the architect. And the presence of this open space in such a dense neighborhood has a positive and lasting effect on the user. And the space serves as a playground, an open air theater, and also a gathering space for the entire school. And this structure is also part of a bigger site containing a mosque and a warehouse. Coming to the middle section is actually the rockiest part of the site, containing a retaining wall and a 6-meter drop connecting the upper and the lower sections together. And the lower section, containing an atrium and 2 classrooms, connects the building to another perpendicular street and resembles the surrounding courtyard houses. So getting into the form evolution. So the first, initially the existing courtyard houses was demolished and the school's outer walls are shared with its neighboring houses. So sort of having a common wall. And the part of existing retaining walls was removed, but those highly sloped, the sheet rocks were not removed because it was really hard to be done and it's a charity school. So lots of funding is needed. And then later it was integrated within the building, which later turned out to be an interesting design element. And a block of school, that is this lower and middle ground floor, is built in a flat land, sharing walls with the neighboring house. So the rocks which came in contact with these blocks were brought inside the block as an design element. So, and the other part of the middle ground level was built corresponding to the steep level raise of the ground, which basically rest on the top of the sheet rocks. And then the upper ground was just stacked, and wherein the building has close proximity to the existing warehouse, which is currently a preschool, but initially it was the main school. So then later, a few additions and subtractions are done to make it more functional, aesthetic, and more climate responsive. And void is given in the center with the common space where the circulations are organized around going through all the 3 portions of the floor. Coming to the lower ground floor, a bright red staircase runs from the lower ground floor to the upper ground floor. And this staircase actually serves as a central spine to the entire building. And the building consists of 2 atriums inspired by the courtyard houses in the neighborhood that aid in lighting and ventilation. And the presence of sheetrock, like Praveen said, in various level changes within the 3 floors itself. The inclusion of the sheetrock as a whole wall in a classroom also adds a very interesting dimension to the space. And the construction of this building was done in phases due to further discoveries regarding the sheetrock in the site and also difficulties securing funds for construction since it is a charity school. So getting into the middle and upper floor. So these presence of sheetrocks in the middle and upper floor result in various undulations, thus resulting more level differences within the floor. So some of the places like the libraries where these undulations are considered as an advantage to arrive at a few design decisions, like having a stepped seating, turning it into a informal library space. So we can also witness the play in colors. The contrast is created in the interiors by the use of bright primary colors. This sort of creates a playfulness and lively environment for the users, especially the children. So this same colors reappear in subtle places within the inside the classroom. So basically, they followed a palette. So this school has a contextual influence in colors too. Like the surrounding houses are really bright in color with lots of colors and patterns which were imitated in doors and windows of this school. So some of the bright primary colors like green, yellow, red, and also orange were chosen. So primary colors are especially used in staircase, windows, doors, trusses, and all those places where that count as an interiors of the building. So in exterior, with respect to the existing building facades that are very colorful, here it is just rendered gray due to the exposure of concrete finish to make it stand unique. So the dominant places were neglected coloring, uh, which seems like it was done intentionally to stand out as a public building as opposed to residential buildings around. So this consideration of budget constraint, since it is a charity school, was executed well in terms of coloring and coloring constraints and materiality, making sure the visual experience doesn't get bored and this budget constraint doesn't affect much. Uh, concrete has been predominantly used in the construction of this building, and the doors, the windows, the railings, and the trusses comprise of metal. The walls have been mostly left to have a bare concrete finish to assure minimum maintenance costs, and the metal used for the doors, windows, railings, and trusses, like I said, have been coated in brightly colored paints for protection against rust, while also providing a certain aesthetic appeal. The upper level, on the other hand, is mostly left bare, enclosed in only hollow blocks and a truss roof. Another interesting aspect of this building is the staggered window sill heights, as you can see. And due to a lot of unskilled labor being used, since this is a charity project, there were bound to be a lot of mistakes in construction, and this was one of them. And the differences in sill heights have been exaggerated to provide an interesting look to the facades of the building. So, due to these shared walls with this surrounding courtyard houses, the opportunities of ventilation were created in the form of light wells, as you can see here, that run through the height of the structure as an homage to the courtyard house, which was demolished. So this entire structure is naturally ventilated, and windows in the classrooms are set at different levels to let ample light in at the different times of the day. So this stack ventilation and cross ventilation, all these things is ensured in every spaces, which gets ventilated from the atrium just above the spine of the building. So ventilators are placed almost in every classrooms, and projected corridors also makes the stack ventilation more effective. So the central atrium and perforated bricks, which ensures the ventilation, makes it more justified for this case. So talking about the light, the skylights and voids bring in light and air and expand the space vertically. So a piece of roof which is elevated to let light into the corridor that leads to the classrooms below, which is basically the central atrium covered by a toughened glass, which lights up the space entirely. Also act as a main void which facilitates ventilation. And also it was supported by a small wind tunnels on the lower ground on either sides, again supporting the stack ventilation, wherein this void also houses the spine of the building, that is the red colored staircases, which brings beauty to the space. So this entire building has a sense of continuity within the site when with respect to the courtyard houses, but still somehow just stands out in the street. And with that, coming to an end, we'll be coming to an end of the presentation. And I'd just like to say that this was an amazing experience for our team. So thank you for facilitating this and for giving us an opportunity to present our work here. We would also like to thank our guides, and we would also like to thank our team for working this hard to help us get here. And with that, we would like to conclude our presentation. Thank you so much.
That was very much on time. I will not be coming in after every presentation like this, but this is the beginning, hence to keep it rolling. So the sequence of jury comments will be, in your case, it will be Anjan sir, Anjan Mitra, then Brinda, and then Parul. The next group, Brinda will start first, then Parul ji, and then Anjan. So like that, we'll do a rotation. So over to you, Anjan. Anjan? Anjan, what happened? Are you around? Can I see him? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, okay.
Hello.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that I was muted.
No, usual. All of us have same problem. Go ahead, Anjan.
Now, thank you for this is a very good presentation. The only, my question is first, I am not able to understand the context on of the existing school, what it was. it's a charity program, that is fine. But what was the basic necessity? And what you build on the existing structure, that is, I'm yet to fathom. The most of the thing you explained is what you have done, but how you've been inspired or to take a look at that, and what are the design issues that you have really looked at, this is something I would like it to know. And the kind of materiality or the construction system that you have followed, why you have chosen that. Yeah, you can answer that.
Yes, sir. So coming to the site, can I speak now or should I speak after everybody comments?
Maybe wait. Better to let everybody say something, then depending on time. And also, it doesn't mean that every jury comment has to be reacted to either. There may not be so much of discussion time.
Okay.
Over to Brinda if that's the case.
Okay, so I had several questions, but I'll just stick to one main one, which is I would like to know a little bit more about your response. I mean, the way the building responds to the topography, because it looks like there is a very kind of distinct change in levels. And if you can, I mean, I don't think you mentioned it. So can we get a little more understanding of how the building actually adjusted to that topographical changes?
Yes, I have a few questions, and that is, when there is less light coming in, more light is coming through the courtyard and ventilation is from the sides. Why do you have to keep the building from inside gray? Gray eats up a lot of light, which means you would need artificial light as well. And why does it have to stand out from other buildings by becoming gray? It's, I think, something that we architects just want concrete to dominate. Thirdly, all the material that came out from the site when the earlier building was demolished, and probably also digging, and you got the stone, because Hyderabad is all stone. Was that material reused or not?
Yeah.
Can we answer now, sir? Should we?
Yes, briefly.
Yes, sir. So, Anjan sir, your question was about the site. So basically, in the beginning, the site there was already a charity school that was being run by the same organization, and the warehouse was actually being used as a school for all the batches. And they used to use movable blackboards and stuff like that, and they used to create spaces for themselves within the.
Yeah.
Within this warehouse, the school used to run. And then when they secured enough funding to actually construct the school and have a bigger space for, to teach the kids in, they actually, commissioned this project. And coming to Brinda ma'am's comments, ma'am, could you repeat your question?
Okay, the question was to describe a little bit or explain a little bit about how the building was responding to the topographical conditions.
Yes, ma'am. So like we talked about before, the site was actually split into three parts. One was an open playground, and which was, the top section. And the middle section was basically just a very steep rock with like a 6-meter fall. And then the lower section actually had a courtyard house that was, adjoining to the other courtyard houses in this. So that was the basic site layout. So they actually demolished the courtyard house, and then they wanted to preserve the playground. So the building was actually built in the lower and the middle section mostly. And you can have a look at what the pictures look like. So a lot of the architect used a lot of sheetrock as walls, and you can actually see how the sheetrock has been used within the building to actually increase its aesthetic appeal. And even every single level change has been done because of the sheetrock itself. And the architect said that they had trouble with site surveying because of budget constraints, since again, it's a charity funded school. So yeah, and ma'am, I hope that explains it.
Yeah, just a small follow-up question. So when there were additions made, you said there were additions made. Is it very distinct from the original building? Can you, I mean, I didn't get that sense of whether it was.
Yes, ma'am. So when I said that additions were made, it means that the entire building was designed, but they don't have funds for construction, right? So they have to secure funds and wait for money to come in every year, and they have to slowly build it. So that is what we meant when we said additions were made. They were planned additions.
Okay, so it didn't
Sorry
happen
to
like
interrupt.
10 years later or something like that?
No.
Okay.
Happened in the course
Okay,
of
that's fine.
the past 4 years.
It's been 5 minutes for jury. We can conclude it fast.
Yes, that's the case. Thank you. I think there's a grand beginning. You have set the tone for the day. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
sir.
so much.
Thank you so much. Dr. Bhatt.
Yes. And yeah, thank you. Bye.
Akil, you can allow the next team to.
Anyway, while that's coming in, at least for sake of the jurors, I forgot to introduce Parul. Parul, of course, I introduced in an indirect way. I was calling her saying that she's trying to join, and I had done some goof up on the email again. So Parul has a background in conservation. She was with, hey Parul, you were with I know you were with the school, but before that you were with I'm very bad with names nowadays. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was working with Dr. Shikha Jain, Drona.
Shikha Jain.
Yes, before I joined. Yeah, and I've just to sort of mention, I've also worked with Abhikram. I trained under Nimish Bhai. That was a long time back, 2000. I trained under Nimish Bhai, and so was very familiar with Abhikram. Yeah. So happy to see Parul Ben here.
And when you were with Shikha, you were with Drona, you were all into the projects as well as publication.
Yes, so I'm still associated with the journal, Context Building Natural.
Yeah, journal you are still with. And then you moved on to become a faculty. Okay.
Yes, so I taught at Sushant for 10 years, and
yes,
I then moved on to Intact now, very recently in January this year. Yeah.
Yes, and in the mail I had informed that Naveen Piplani has left Intact and he has moved over to Sushant. So I was just jokingly saying Parul and so they have swapped, Naveen and Parul have swapped the locations.
Yes.
Which project did you work with us?
On the Udaipur this thing UVU Udaipur.
Oh,
Udavilas. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then I need your inputs. I'll get back.
Sure.
Or their archives. So when was that, Parul? Was it in the last century?
It was at the turn of it, so 2 years.
The project started in 89 and got completed in 2002.
Yeah. All right. So is the team ready? The next team has come in.
Guys, you can present.
So is the screen visible?
Yeah, please tell the entry code and go ahead.
It's 64 L.I.K 4.
Yeah, please go ahead. Can you make it a full screen?
Now is it visible?
Yeah. Thank you.
So can I start? Am I audible clearly?
Yes. Please go ahead.
Yes, please go ahead.
So good morning to all the jury members. Though a tree grows so high, falling leaves later return to the roots. The world of architecture is proliferating around us, owing to urbanization and the vogue for celebrating an individual's creation over the immediate context, leading us to the question of whether a design must respond to its immediate context or remain oblivious to its surrounding. Should it adhere to the local traditions? Is it really reaching out to the truth? To respond to the above questions, introducing Tal Chapter, traversing the tradition of the roots.
So the priority of emphasizing individuality in the modern time has shifted the paradigm towards the heterogeneity. However, this contemporary time demands an architecture that aims for its timelessness. Infill architecture becomes a possible solution that influences the context after getting influenced by the context. It provides a platform to integrate the concept of critical regionalism to a holistic expression of humans and their livable environment. We embarked the journey for a contextual rich site exhibiting a modernistic approach that addresses the native and the locality. Architect Revati Kamath, one of the pioneers of regional architecture, envisions her passion for the environment and introduces the practice that amalgamates vernacularism with the modernistic style. Next.
Driving into Rajasthan, Churu acts as a gateway to the Thar that remains steeped in tradition, arising from its history of rulers who left an unerasable impression on the town. Adorned with the exquisite Shekhawati style of architecture, the spectacular Havelis of the town become a sign of opulence across the various building typologies present.
The building itinerary consisted of two phases, the contextual study and the site study. The techniques like photographic documentation, hand-foot mapping, laser gauging, and the human scale and proportioning was used to analyze the building. Next. Moving closer to the site context, the village of Chapar, located in the fringe of deserts, established a unique relationship between human and nature. The project manifests a strategic coordinative program formulating the equilibrated building that deals with the architecture of the people, by the people, and for the people. The morphology between culture and ecological character of the century leads the formal syntax of existing building in making it an interspatial infill. Next.
Going down the historical lines, Tal Chapar was a shooting reserve under the reign of Maharaja Ganga Singh until the merger post-independence that led to the downfall of the region. In 1966, Tal Chapar was established as a sanctuary amid the noteworthy contributions of the Bishnoi community towards embodying a symbiosis between man and nature. Since then, the region has observed a surge in tourism with the development of infrastructure around the sanctuary.
While conceptualizing the context, we tried to analyze the generic data that serve as the base of understanding the settlement, which was divided according to the gradual development of the city from organic to grid pattern. One of the striking features of the city remains the traditional Havelis, having a courtyard planning that showcase the Shekhawati style of architecture, incorporating the elements like chhajjas and jali to respond to the climatic condition of the region. Next.
Evaluating the vicinity helped us dive deeper into the relationship between culture and form. The study on the locally performed activities reflected their beliefs and generated an essence of the every built form being a manifestation of culture. Setting amidst a dense urban network of multiple building typologies, the site was poured in with exclusive features of houses and havelis, providing greater insights on a modern building being contextually fit. Next.
The rudiments of completing architecture is by embracing the essence of vicinity and the expression of local affinity. The global architecture becomes a jewel of a crown when it evidences the regional architecture or vice versa. Next.
Located in the flatlands of Chapar, the project is set with an idea of intertwining human cultures with aesthetics, whilst focusing on the preservation of sanctuary. Tal Chapar consists of 8 interspersed blocks, namely the Deputy Forest Officer block, followed by Craft Shop and Seminar Hall, VIP Guest House, Toilet Block, Rangers Quarter, Staff Accommodation, and the Central Amphitheatre.
The site showcased the variation in height of distinct blocks. The site seems to follow the concept of ecoliteracy and adaptive reuse that caters ecology and sustainability while responding to the natural and contextual syntax of the region. Next. Starting the journey of experience, the DFO block marks the beginning of the complex, consisting of an administration center. The entrance of DFO block comprises a semi-open porch reflecting the manneristic expression. After crossing the threshold, the foyer bifurcates into the distinctive administration offices and the double-heighted gathering space. Next.
The first floor of the DFO block encompasses guest rooms, which are bound together through an open terrace and a path running throughout its periphery. The triangular-shaped jalis are articulated for a smooth flow of wind within the structure. Furthermore, the rooms are designed in a way to express the Rajasthani style.
The toilet block and the ranger's quarter are placed in a way to break the monotony of continuous hustle. Both the blocks inculcate the central courtyard to synchronize the breeze and possess an aeric environment. Next.
The VIP guest house is constructed for accommodating the tourists and the government officials. It has an entry porch that is connected to reception and further takes us to the individual rooms and restaurants. The rooms are oriented for displaying visual linkages with the cultural focal point. The addition of jalis as a visual barrier, thicker walls as a sound barrier, and security for door in the rooms establishes a different user experience.
The staircase from the lobby leads us to the first floor, which comprises another 2 rooms with the common balcony. Here, the lobby area unfolds the path towards the gathering space that allows the user to glance at the natural environment. Further, the terrace floor incorporates the viewing gallery, creating a blend of urban and natural syntax. Next.
The craft shop and the interpretation center are part of a social program that establishes a relation between culture and craft. A careful juxtapositioning and seamless blending of the circular and the rectangular built form is articulated through corridors that not only connect spaces, but also create spaces.
Staff accommodation block is established on the entrance gate of the sanctuary to avoid any trespassing and oriented in a way to make prominent spaces conscious. It incorporates a central courtyard that establishes a visual linkage between different levels of the building. Next.
The sectional isometric showcases the amalgamation of varied built forms. The architect's idea of cohesive association of the native syntax to manifest regional identity has provided the spaces their own unique language.
Coming to the technical details of the component, different type of doors and windows coexist with the novel corbel arches, an eye-pleasing triangular jali, which is an abstract version of a local craft inspired by the black bulbs. The choice of using local materials like sandstone imported from the Bikaner and the lime plaster as a substitute to mud enriches the premises. Next.
Got 2 more minutes to complete it.
Here, the ceiling detail articulated with the bamboo framework and the metal welding to establish the resemblance to the neo-style interpretation of Zumpas.
For achieving thermal insulation, roofs are constructed in subsequent layers of bamboo, plastic sheet, concrete, and soil. Columns express the holistic form of Shikhati style with the use of section girders and cornice details.
Tal Chhapar is literally a specimen of native wisdom. It embellishes the golden rule of architecture, showcasing its timelessness amongst society. Its architecture language coexists with the proximity and adds a layer of coherence to the building, expressing conformity between land and mankind. Following the bylaws of the region, the site manifests the axial massing of the building and utilize the material to blend in the harmony with the context. Lastly, the elements of space garnishes the site with a calm touch of traditionalism. Next.
A denouement was prepared to interpret the various occurrences on site. It all began post-economic liberalization. People adopted the consumerist culture and began to poaching that lead to materialistic gains. Forcing the events, a design was proposed by the Public Works Department to fulfill the government intentions, but it failed to stand out as it lacked resource optimization, sense of belonging.
That's where the architect Revati Kamat turns the table by proposing the adaptive reuse of existing building to develop into the context and revive the ecological character of the site. Next.
So concluding the study, Tal Chhapar exemplifies the central principle that has guided our architecture. As above, so below, to accord dignity to all forms of life. It recognizes the holistic nature of the environment by integrating man with nature, tradition with modern, scientific with artistic, and bureaucracy with creativity to establish an equity between the symbolic and the pragmatic function of the place.
So ending with a bunch of photographs clicked during the site visit, showcasing the entire premises. It was an enchanting experience, setting with the tail of time.
Thank you.
Brinda, would you like to speak? Yeah,
sure. Yeah.
It's pretty nice.
Thank you, guys. It's an amazing piece of architecture as well as a very nicely done documentation. The details that have been discussed is really useful. And I don't seem to have any like very specific questions. The only one thing that I was wondering about is that elaborate a little bit more on the use of bamboo and the contextual reference with respect to bamboo. All the other materials, the detailing and the contextual analysis are well presented. Just a correlationship between some of the ways in which materials were used would be useful.
So I answer the question now, or
no? Just hold on.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Parulji, go ahead.
Of adaptive reuse. You said that she did go in for adaptive reuse of one of the buildings. I wish that was mentioned very clearly. Secondly, again, the materials that one would like to understand and how much of concrete also has been used in this place is another thing. And wherever you have flat slab, have we used the local technology of spanning with stone slabs? Because if we are blending it with the local and this craft is there, the skill is there, and these local materials are available. So was that used, or her standard way of doing the bamboo roof, and which she has done in many places? That was used. And of course, what was the building material? Finishing, you said, was probably lime plaster. Am I right? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think.
And how does it really blend in with the rest of the local buildings? And why are they separate? Basically, you have wall-to-wall buildings in Shekhawati. That is because of the climate. So why are these so separate? And what is the wildlife there? So how does it respond to the wildlife?
I think Parul has asked a lot of questions, so but I agree most of it. Actually, I'm looking at this particular typology as an kind of revitalizing the existing building tradition, to which how actually it has done. And in a desert climate, definitely there is a kind of a typology which has to be very compact and very inward looking. So with looking at that, this doesn't seems to really act on that, because the scale of the spaces that has created, it doesn't really act for a thermal comfort, that kind of a spin. And that adaptive reuse or the connections to the desert climate, to that extent, the kind of traditions, the craftsmanship that was there, how much it has actually included. These are the kind of questions this, I think, one should explore, because this is a more contemporary kind of intervention. And in that sense, how much it is really responded to the local climate. And these are the kind of issues that kind of emerges out.
Okay. I would also like to add one more thing. When we do interventions in historic areas, people come to that historic area to see the history, to see the heritage buildings. And when we do interventions which do not really go with it, you're killing the whole thing, and the tourism income will be lost eventually.
Okay. Yeah. So can I answer the questions?
Yeah.
So first of all, coming to the question about related to the bamboo as a material. So the bamboo was used in the ceilings as it was an interpretation of the jumpas. Jumpas are the traditional houses of the Bishnoi community, which was local to the Chapar village. So the jumpa houses, the ceiling detail has been inspired from the traditional house of a jumpa. Its roof is known as jumpa, which is constructed using bamboo. So here the intervention is that the bamboo has been layered upon with plastic sheet, concrete and soil to make a green roof, which acts as a thermal insulator for the entire building. Next, coming to the question of the main material which has been used. So the main material which is used is concrete along with stone slabs. The stone slabs are of sandstone lintel. So sandstones have been provided in the every fenestration so that the local material has been used, which is imported from Bikaner itself. And the finishes are the lime plaster. Now, according to the bylaws, it was said that mud can't be used in such areas. So she used lime plaster instead of it and revived the texture of mud in the entire building premises. Now, coming to the craftsmanship, as you can see, there is a jali detail which has been given. Now, this is completely inspired from the blackbugs. The blackbugs had a triangular pattern. An abstract version of the blackbug has been derived into the jalis, which creates a stack effect into a building and also provides a smooth flow of wind within the building. So that's the articulation of the blackbug into the craftsmanship of the locals in the entire premises.
It's been 5 minutes for the jury students. Please conclude it fast.
We missed out on Parul Munjal. Hello.
Hello. Yeah. Yes.
Parul Munjal had to respond also.
I think me and Satya sir are supposed to be sort of in the moderating role, and the
Okay,
jury.
sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if you have any general comment, of course, we will share our day's experiences. Okay. Is it over now, or students are reacting anymore?
I think it's done.
Yeah, we can go ahead, sir.
Yes. Thank you, second team. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
So we'll be moving on to the entry number 6, L.I.K entry 6. You guys can present.
Parul Munjal.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, this little thing about, where need be, please take over for some more time. I'll do something else in the meanwhile, observing, and I'm also checking something on the internet about this project. Very exciting, these projects are.
Sure.
Okay, over to you, Parul, in case, if you have to say who has to start and all that. Yeah.
Sure.
Good morning, sir. Good morning to everybody present here. Should we start screen sharing?
Yes, start.
So is my screen visible?
Yes.
So we are the entry 6, and we basically chose the infill architecture in a small town of Rajasthan, and the architect for this, we chose a school, and the architect for the school is Dinah Kellogg's. So, sir, we basically chose a site in town of Rajasthan, well known for its forts, craftsmanship, sandstone, and the Thar Desert. The idea behind choosing Rani Ratnavati Girls' School is not only the marvelous architecture, but also how it will bring the whole community of girls and women together while empowering them in the process. It will serve to more than 400 girls from kindergarten to class 10 who belong to the sector of below poverty line, and it's in the mystic Thar Desert. And sir, we basically chose Rajasthan and this topic because it caters to women empowerment. And in Rajasthan, female literacy barely touches 32%. So, sir, this slide talks about.
Sorry to intervene. Can you hear me? Sorry to intervene.
Yes, sir.
Manojna, the president, has just sent a message. Please do it full screen.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, carry on.
Is it better now?
Yeah, go ahead.
So this slide basically talks about how it makes the local women feel and how it has made a difference in their life by making them come out of stringent households and to become independent. These are the four bubbles. And the first bubble talks about how empowerment starts from childhood by imparting wisdom. And so the second bubble talks about the geographical location, how it is remote, but there's a school which brings out a positive environment and it acts as source of knowledge and livelihood. And so the third part talks about how it will not only cater to the children, but also help women to earn their livelihood by inculcating skills. And so the third part, it talks about sense of security. So the reason why we wrote sense of security was because when we were going through the survey, there was a woman who told that I feel free here, and this statement really caught our attention. So the school, it basically makes them feel safe. So I'll move on to the next slide. So this slide talks about the history of Jaisalmer and why, how they have got inspired from history of Jaisalmer. So what they've done is the name itself tells us about the history of Jaisalmer. So they took Rani Ratnavati Girls' School is named after Rani Ratnavati for her courage and confidence to fight the army of Alauddin Khilji. And this name itself instills the sense of pride, belonging, inspiration, and motivation for the girls to stand up for themselves. So the third slide is about the site study. So the site lies in heart of Thar Desert, where average temperature rises up to 42 degrees Celsius, and it also drops down to as low as 7 degrees Celsius. And so the major climate is dry, sandy, and extremely hot, with hot winds coming from southwest direction. And so despite being in a geographically and a challenging site, building perfectly dwells with the surrounding sand dunes. So in fact, they've taken advantage of the geographical remoteness, as the school will also function as a marketplace where crafts will be displayed for the sale of tourists. So this is the slide 4, and this talks about the concept they took for the school, the basic concept. So basically, in Jaisalmer, the villages are far behind the idea of women empowerment. Even if girls are enrolled at school, they are often taken out to help with household chores, look after younger children, or to work in the field. So to address this issue, the movers and shakers of Jaisalmer society were roped in for the project. The royal family, the politician, hosteliers, and the business people, and one of which can be predominantly seen in the dress code designed by designer Sabyasachi Mukherjee. So what he did was he used the local ajrak, a form of woodwork block printing on textile, to design the school uniform. Sir, and the goal was to encourage the girls to feel pride in their region. The form is such that it acts as a symbol of strength, landing on structure of 3 ovals represent the power of femininity and infinity, as well as replicate the plains of sand dunes in region of Jaisalmer. The oval shape also represents Mother Earth's womb and egg, welcoming her daughter and fellow women to nurture and embrace them. So we'll move on to the slide 5. So the slide 5 is about the site plan. So basically, sir, for the site plan, it is basically a blend of contemporary architecture and traditional Indian practices designed for a climatically and economically challenged situation. So there will be 3 buildings, where school is the first one. Second is the Medha Hall, which will act as a performance hall, art exhibition space, library, and a museum. And so the third is the Women's Cooperative Center, where local artisans will teach mothers and other women weaving and embroidery techniques from the region. And so the school is made of yellow sandstone, and it surprisingly has no air conditioning. The orientation of building is such that it maximizes the airflow in the building by means of vents at higher position and keeps the heat out. So also the courtyard shades itself without any external shading devices. Even when the outside temperature reaches to 50 degrees Celsius, the school can maintain the building cool, comfortable from within. And so the classrooms, they receive plenty of air and light circulation. So the slide 6 is about the floor plan. So we will talk about why we have used ellipse as their main shape. So the idea behind the elliptical shape of structure is to help bring the aspects of sustainability. The canopy and jali filter the sand while keeping the harsh sun and heat out. And so the pattern of airflow inside the building naturally cools it down. All over, there are 10 classrooms, computer centers, which surround the central courtyard. And the openings in the classrooms create a damp light effect throughout the day and allow for natural ventilation, while the courtyard acts as a place for communication where girls can freely play without worrying about the scorching heat. And so facade has been made more interactive by using niches which basically act as a resting area for the girls. So we move on to slide 7, which talks about the roof plan. So the flat mosaic tile roof screened by jali system lattice work parapets that provide cross ventilation and protection from the sandstorm. It also acts as a learning space on a breezy day, a stage for a performance or a play area. And sir, the solar panels, they have a metal support. And sir, it also caters to rainwater harvesting system because the roof acts as a giant gutter, which basically downspouts the empty into the courtyard, and it itself acts, and the courtyard acts as a catchment area, and the courtyard has a cistern in the center where all of the water is collected. So the slide 8 talks about the west elevation, east elevation, the section details, and how the inner spaces are. So the concept of jali wall is a phenomena for Indian architecture. However, it has been reinterpreted here in a very modern way. So they have used basket weaves, and it is a metaphor for weaving, and it also functions to hold up sunshade and solar panels. The yellow sandstone acts as a canvas for shadows of dancing and running girls all around the space, with cinematic view of jali projections, changing positions and shade with the sun. And so the in-between places also feel very alive because of these perforated walls. And so the sections of stone walls have been perforated to cool down the space and shaded from the sun. So the 9th slide is about the Medha Hall, its floor plans and the views that will come in.
So the Medha Hall is the area designated for the library and a museum and a space for the performances and art exhibitions.
Please wrap it up.
Can't hear you.
The Medha Hall is an area designated for a library and a museum and the spaces for performances and art exhibitions for local crafts such as textiles. The women will learn local weaving and embroidery techniques here. It will be an area where people can get together to showcase Indian craft, music, and dance of the region here. And we can see that it has a distinct oculus here. And also, if you can see the library in the image, the light sheds through the oculus into the library, which is distinctive among the 3 buildings. Right? This slide talks about the Women Cooperative Center, which is the 3rd building in this block. These are the plans and elevation and section of this block. So the Women's Cooperative Center represents the blending of generations. So the design concept for this women-centric, as it grants them have their own privacy and decision-making to work how and wherever they feel. So there's an egg-shaped courtyard where women can work. So those who are interested in sharing their work and techniques with people who come to visit there can be in the outdoor space. Rest of the women will be separated by a courtyard, so you can see them working and they can close off the shutters if they want privacy. Here in the view section, we can see that there is 3 circles and it is in a concentric way, which actually represents the 3 buildings and also the women cooperative, the education, empowerment, everything is represented in this circle. And also you can see that when people move through these spaces, they can actually realize they are moving into different blocks as well. Coming to the next slide, here we can see the stages of construction.
Time's up. You can just show all the slides and wrap it up fast.
Yeah, okay.
Sir, this slide basically talks about the stages of construction and the materials that they use. The basic material was yellow sandstone, which is famous in Jaisalmer. And so the 12th slide shows the axonometric view. And sir, the 13th slide is the conclusion sheet. And sir, as it is famously quoted by Lee Corbusier, that human creations that survive are those which produce emotions and
Can I have a request, please? If your time is up, just conclude, please.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
so
just go to the next slide, next slide, next slide, next slide, next slide, next slide,
So that's it.
next slide. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, over to Parul Zaveri, please.
While we see it's a great attempt at, talking about the aerodynamics and using the local stone, which is freely available in Jaisalmer area, and the sand also is of the same color. I see lots of problems within this, that you have a courtyard which is pretty large. There is no kind of a veranda which you would need to shade even your inner walls. Thirdly, you are not, if there was a provision to cover in the summer, it's so hot. You can't walk into that courtyard because it's 50 degrees and it has started even going up beyond 50 degrees. So if there was some kind of a tented structure that would have helped to cover the courtyard, would have been much better. At the same time, I really appreciate that they're talking of women's skill being enhanced. What about the traditional craftsmanship in stone, which they have learned over centuries, which has been given to them over generations? If we don't use them as architects, we're talking of modern architecture, but if we don't use them in our buildings, that skill and knowledge will die away. So that these few things become a major red lights for me. And this happens especially when people, the architects, come from abroad and have not really studied in depth about our architecture, culture, tangible and intangible heritage. And even the clothes, the ghagra is required for the flow of air. When you have some tight pants, can you wear those tight pants in summer here? Forget about Jaisalmer. Winter clothing needs to be different, if at all. Otherwise, their ghagra and their traditional clothes are great. If they can be modified, it's a different thing. Sorry, that's it. If I've taken a little long.
Actually, the courtyard has a canopy which will cover it in the summers, and the
one sec, we can't hear you. Please come closer. Yeah.
Ma'am, actually,
let everyone comment. Let all the jurors talk.
Okay.
Brinda?
Anjan, Brinda?
I thought it was Anjan's turn, but anyway.
No. This is, when a student presents, the first juror is only the cyclical order. In between,
okay,
you can do any.
Yeah. So thank you guys. The manner in which you presented it, I think you spent a lot of time discussing the users, the people who are actually going to be occupying the building, the girls and the women as students, and you were very expressive of the connection between them and the building and the design of the building, the way the spaces are getting used. But I kind of feel like a little more emphasis in your analysis on the contextual reference with respect to the climatic conditions and also the cultural. I know there were a few references. You did talk about the Jali walls and things like that. But I think your drawings, what you were speaking about was not coming through much in the way you drew the building. And I think a little more deeper analysis through your drawings and sketches would have been useful. That's it. Yeah, thanks.
Hey, Brinda, you're right. It was Anjan's turn if you were to go by the sequence.
No. That is fine.
Sorry. Bolo.
But actually, this is a very interesting project for all things concerned. First, it actually has taken architecture beyond the physicality of the things and to address the context. I agree with Brinda because the drawings and their presentation or the analysis, the way they are approaching this concept, it has to be much better manifested because in terms of climate responsiveness, because of what they have done with the roof, the kind of cross-sectional elements would have actually see the basic the how the without AC the temperature control has been introduced or this thing has been done. They said that the courtyard is a rainwater harvesting place. Is it green? Is it something which doesn't can kind of absorb the heat? These are interesting insight into this building. One is the design typology, and second thing is the way this has been constructed or attempted. And obviously, as Parul was mentioning about the clothing and other thing, these are very indicative form of how to handle the climate. Now that what the air does in the shade or in the sun, these are the some kind of inputs would have been presented much better. So I think next time onwards, this the understanding of its connectedness to the context should have been expressed a little better. That's all.
Sir, I just want to add one thing about the courtyard. The courtyard actually has a canopy which will cover the courtyard in the summers. And sir, to bring in the lattice work and the work of Jaisalmer, what they did was actually reverse migration happened here. They brought back all the people who had migrated to Mumbai, and so they made the furniture, and the fathers of these girls actually constructed the school. So there was a lot of local involvement in building of the school, and they actually used a lot. All of it is done by the handwork. Even the smallest brick is made by these fathers of these girls. So that is how they involve local people and the local artwork.
Thank you. Thank you on that answer.
We can move on to the next group.
NASA team, yeah, over to the next team. NASA, you are suggesting a small break, no? After 5 or 4, how many was that?
Okay. After group number 9, we can have a small break.
Okay.
L.I.K 9.
A very good morning to the jury panels. We are group 9. And I'll just present my screen 1 second.
You guys are on mute. Please unmute yourselves.
Hello.
Yeah, you are audible now. Please share your screen.
And now I've got it. Yeah. So the design. Our design is our project is basically a hotel, and its Taj complex is situated in Rishikesh. And we wanted to begin our design with a small poem depicting the entire project in a 4 line. So here's the poem. Cedar-scented northern land where L.I.K Ganga blesses our lives. A race of river stones and slopes inclined nestles a house of the Lords. In soft tones, in these moments, carved in wood and honey-like, the soul steps down mystical creations and time, timber and diamond stairs embroidered on the hillock, jewel green, a gravel brook slipping through this hamlet, throughout the scene, panoramic views from terraced earth of valleys deep. A symbiosis like this rarely does nature reap. So moving on to the site selection, the site as mentioned earlier is situated in Rishikesh, Uttarakhand. And The site the entire project is constructed over a steeply contoured site, and which was initially used for terrace farming. And it has a elevation varying from 100 meters to 5 meters, whereas the highest elevation is towards the northeast part of the site, and the lowest is towards the south side of the site. And the elevation of Rishikesh itself is average of around 372 meters. So, as the site is situated around a hilly slope, it has a really less noise disturbances and any other disturbances around, and it has abundant vegetation, which is a plus point. And this is how our project is linked with the infill architecture, as mentioned in our brief. Talking more about, like, before getting into the design, we got to, while we were researching about the design and we started doing work on it, we found out that the architect themselves went to the villages in Uttarakhand and they stayed there for a while to study the various culture and the tradition of Uttarakhand. And we, following the same steps, we thought we'll explain few the cultural stuff of Uttarakhand. So here is the major festivals which have been celebrated in Uttarakhand, along with the wood carving, which is the speciality, the Ipan art, which is the art of Uttarakhand, the handicraft materials, and the food, clothing, and ornaments is the brief about the entire sheet. Moving on to the architecture of Uttarakhand, it's basically three types: Kamau, Gharwal, and Koti Banal architecture. So the main thing is Koti Banal architecture, which has a unique style itself, and it's been practiced for almost 1,000 years, and it's still being practiced, standing out in the best way possible. And the building itself is structurally very much stable, having earthquake resistance, following the earthquake resistance properties. And talking about the climatic features, the Koti Banal architecture allow the maximum sun within the spaces, and has and the yeah, maximum sun, and the construction is done along the linear pattern. Stone walls and timber for structural support with slate for the roofs have been used, and sunshade over the windows for shading and the rain protection is the main features of this, the climatic features of the Koti Banal architecture. And talking about the materials, the locally available materials have been used, and here is a small isometric view explaining the various components of the Koti Banal architecture. And coming to the fifth sheet, this basically is all about Rishikesh. This shows how the city of Rishikesh has been originated through the hair of Rishi, and then we talk about various activities which has been practiced till today, and what are the other factors like the attraction points, the ashramams which is still like the essence of Rishikesh, talking about the music, the folk music, and explaining the Ayurvedic factors of the Rishikesh, the whole city. Moving on to our project. So here we would like to describe how infill our project is. So since it's located in such a naturally alluring topography, the design has been has utilized all these natural features. So over here, we can see that there's a level difference of about 100 meters from the top to the bottom of the site, and this has been used to provide private views of the surrounding environment to each villa. Now moving on to the main block, this covers the reception as well as all other public spaces, and there's a centrally located courtyard over here, which is designed in the image of the traditional Darbar Ghar, which was the residence of the local Rajas and the Lords. So as seen in as clearly visible, the plan itself is self-explanatory, and it compromises most of the reception part and the public spaces throughout the site. And here we have tried explaining the circulation of the whole plan. This talks about the materials used, the major materials which have been used, showing the elevations and some of the major spots in the plan. I mean, in the main block, which is the reception, the bar which has been used, and the outdoor sitting. And this is the villa details which have been used throughout the whole design. It has various types of villas, and these basically follow the local culture along with the local materials used. And the villas are designed in a traditional Himalayan village architectural style, and they are arranged around the site in an organic pattern, followed by a pathways connecting each with one another. And each unit consists of almost 2 villas placed side by side and come to see in the elevation. and the villa has pitched roof as to drain the water out of the rainfall. And talking about the roofing details, keeping in mind the cold temperature of Rishikesh, a gable roof has been designed for the various structures, and the gable roof consists of two sections whose upper horizontal edges meet to the form and the ridges, and here it has the construction of the king post. So in this, like it talks more about the construction details. So we have the stability. The stability of the several traditional truss slopes are adversely affected if the constructed with all the node pins, and the rigid board. I mean the various joinery details I'm trying to explain here. So this is the brief about it. So moving on to the materials, we tried depicting what materials are being exactly where. So we have put on the various views inside the south, both interior and the interior of a courtyard here, showing how the glass has been used as a staircase, which is like extremely versatile, which creates the illusion of unlimited space with formless system, giving a seamless floating staircase appearance. And the stone cladding, which is a natural available materials of Uttarakhand, and how it's been used as stone cladding, and the timber joinery details, the furniture details, and the metal joinery details, along with the interior flooring details as well. So again, this is the second side using for the materials, explaining how the window details are, the stone cladding details again, and the external flooring, the wooden column beam details, and the balcony railing along with the interior flooring. So moving on to the landscaping palette, a lot of indigenous trees have been used throughout the design, and the existing trees have also been largely retained through the design. And mostly evergreen trees have been planted to prevent the cold winds to enter entering from the north. And ornamental bushes such as rhododendrons and yew have been used to provide direction and emphasis to the pathways which line the site.
You have 2 minutes to wrap it up.
Yeah. This is an image gallery which depicts various locations throughout the design. So firstly, we have the restaurant area, which is placed at the highest point of the site, and it offers a view to the surrounding environment. Then we can see interiors where they've used a minimalistic earthy tone color palette. Then here we can see how the landscape has been incorporated and how it blends into the surrounding environment, and how lighting has also been utilized to give a sense of warmth and comfort to the visitors. To conclude, the design is infill in such a way that it blends with the surrounding environment and also utilizes the local vernacular architecture of the area. And we can see that this building is a part of the world, and it is part of the majestic Ganga and the Himalayas where it's located. Yes, that's it. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Hello.
Yeah.
Hello. So may I stop presenting?
Yes, please. Now we'll.
Anjan,
Yeah.
over to you.
Yes.
This is a very good presentation. I just wondered who actually has designed this. Basically, I think you have explained it well in terms of its siting, in terms of the kind of building traditions it adhered to, and also the spirits of it. Accepting the kind of thermal insulation, because in your that Koti Banal architecture, normally the external storages are that wide angle verandas were used mainly as a kind of a thermal insulation in the severe winters, which is that is what is only deviated here, because they have used it as a more of a relaxing spaces. So to accepting that, what is the kind of use they have, actually architectural elements here is also used for a kind of a thermal responses and for the building's performance. If you could elaborate slightly on that, probably it would be much more meaningful. Thank you.
Yes.
Who's next?
Okay. Yeah. Shall I go?
Yeah, please.
Yes, Brenda.
Yeah.
Before you go, there was a query by Anjan who designed. I was just checking it. It's some concept by some Montreal-based firm called YH2 with Edifice consultants.
Oh,
Yeah,
Edifice.
over to you, Brenda.
Okay.
Yeah, basically Edifice, I think, but they say the Montreal architects also traveled around. Over to you, Brenda.
Okay. Yeah, thank you guys. I really liked the manner in which you started your presentation. It reminded me of Ruskin Bond with the poem, you started it off. And I also appreciated a lot of your references, which are kind of extracting the symbolism of the place itself with the Rishi and all of that. And the way you drew it and expressed it was really nice. I have just one small question. You did talk about the views, but I just was hoping that you would show us through your drawings certain view corridors from key public spaces or even from the private spaces of the villas itself. What was the panorama that was unfolding? If you could have, that would have made the contextual reference a little more stronger. And you did talk about materials and all of that. I think a little more detail on that could have been there, but this was one of the things that I felt would have rooted it a little better, because they have made an attempt. There's that whole glass box-like thing that is there, which is almost like a viewing gallery. And then there were the private spaces of the villas and the other parts where the window proportions were very, very unique. And if you could have spoken a little bit about the proportions of the windows and the way it sat in the facades, it would have been a little more stronger. So that's it. Thank you.
Yeah, they have said it all. I just have one question. How have they tackled the earthquake? Because traditionally, you had wooden bands and then stone in between, in the walls, which I only saw in the inner wall, but not in the outer wall. So what was the material used for stone? Stone is actually in cladding. What was the material used for walls and...
Ma'am, it was the, like what we found it was like the normal concrete kind of a structure which was used for the foundation and to keep the project stable, like the building. That was what we have found out.
Sorry,
as we can...
The walls were?
It was concrete made walls, ma'am.
Concrete.
Okay. The thing is, we can't really go to the site physically and visit. So we had a small restriction with that. And we tried as much as we can get through the internet, the desktop study and all the pictures along with the, like as ma'am mentioned earlier, for the views and everything, we couldn't really get that. But we tried our best to present whatever we could get.
It's a very sensitively done project for Taj, basically.
Yes.
Yes.
It is.
Yeah.
Thank you. You did a good job.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay.
So now we'll be going on for a break. Is 10 minutes fine for all the jurors?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
Yes.
How are we doing the time overall, Divyansh and others? Are we on track?
Yes, sir. Totally.
Not bad. 21 entries. Okay. All right.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
We have 18 entries, ne? We have 18 entries.
No, I believe it's 21. See, initially they got 16 and the final count reached 21, which we didn't expect, but it's good. More the merrier in a way. We have to adjust for the day. Okay. The students can leave, and I just want to take 2 minutes. Us only. Only the students can leave, please. Nasa, Parul, Munjal, please stay back. What is that? 64 L.I.K 9. Can you please?
Akil, you can also pause the live stream.
Oh, yes, please. Thanks for giving the hint. We'll wait for the live stream to be paused. Is it done now?
Not yet.
Are we, Divyansh, have we stopped the live streaming?
Just a minute.
1 second, sir.
Yeah. Who is Sahil? Thanks anyway.